You read a lot of scripts, obviously. A lot of new writers ask you to read their scripts.
They do.
What separates a good script from a great one?
You first got to wonder what separates a good script from the ones that suck, because most of them suck. Most of them suck. That's probably too mean. Less of them.
You just said you wanted that.
I know. Weirdly enough, less of them suck today than they did 15 years ago. At least the scripts that I get. Although I tend to put a certain, like I tell people, don't send me their first script. I'll read your script. What I tell them is I'll read your script when other people are telling you it's ready to be read by a network-approved showrunner. And my time is no more valuable than anybody else's. I'm just saying that I can't give you the kind of kindness that Mark Egan and Mark Solomon gave me of reading one of my first scripts.
Yeah.
I will and I do if people are that aggressive, but I say to them, I'm going to read this script the same way I read a script that's coming to me from an agent or a manager. I'm going to read the first few pages, and I'm going to draw my opinion based on the first page, first 3 pages, and I probably won't get past page 10. And I'll tell you why and where it stands and whether it's in the top 50% or the bottom 50% or the top 10% or the top third. And the worst I'll say about a script is this is not in the top 50%. I'll never tell somebody this is in the bottom 10%.
Right.
So if, I forget if I've read your work or not, but if I've said that about you, I apologize.
You have and you did not.
Good. Okay,
yeah.
that's good.
We're very proud of that fact.
That's good. If you can make it out of the bottom 50%, you at least have a chance.
We're on the up and up.
Yeah,
So.
and generally I'm saying to people, unless it's in the top third, you just don't have it. You just don't have that natural gift, right? So now I've totally depressed you. So generally, the first step. But again, that comes back to what I said earlier. You can either sing or you can't. And because I've read, I don't know if it's thousands yet, several hundred. It's probably close to 1,000. At least started 1,000 scripts. It's like when I go and see musical theater, and the lead steps out and opens their mouth to sing, and I know right there if I'm going to like the show or not, because they're either singing well or not. And that's what happens the first sentence in. And I know it sounds judgmental, but it's the first sentence in. Sometimes I can read that first sentence and go, wow. And I've literally thought that wow moment. Boy, that was just so nicely constructed, that sentence. Or I go, it's already a problem. Like they've used too many prepositions, or they put too many adverbs in there. It's just, and I know it's judgmental, and I try to stop myself from being so overly judgmental. And I can't say I haven't been proven wrong yet. It's just like you get something for that first sentence, certainly the first page, into the first 3. You know, is this something is this a singer I want to keep listening to?
Yeah.
Right. And then by page 10, I just kind of know. And again, as I said earlier, what I'm looking for is dialogue and humor, or a drive, or something like that. So, and some of that affects which scripts I'll even ask people to read if I'm hiring them.
Sure.
Or if people say, I have this action adventure feature, I just don't really know how to read an action adventure feature.
Yeah.
I know how to read a pilot, even if it's a procedural. I don't know always. I don't have that skill level is the wrong thing. It's just not kind of my take. I just don't know how to judge that stuff.
Yeah.
So between the good and the great is. And I'm asked this a lot, and I'm still struggling to figure out exactly how to answer it, because
That's okay.
it's like, it is, so it's a naturalism to the dialogue, first of all. It's a pace. This is an oddity. We generally don't talk in paragraphs the way I'm talking in kind of soliloquies. So, and I'm not looking for David Mamet-esque interruptions and F and T and K sounds within the dialogue. I'm just saying that there's a naturalness to it and a style that, to me, is the difference between good and great. It's dialogue that sounds the way people talk, and just what I did there. I stuttered a little bit. It's like when people do that, I go, well, that's really interesting, because they know language, and when they throw in the mm-hms like you're doing, that's what happens in real dialogue. And then of course, drama, theater, film, television is forced. It's artificial dialogue as we put it together. But I want dialogue that's natural and then has a drive and has characters who want things from each other, and characters that are different. The voices are different, that have different points of view. That if I know you if it's a pilot. And you have 2 characters, like, well, why am I going to be interested in this scene between the two of them? I had two characters on Good Witch who were horribly selfish, and one of them was completely unself-aware, and the other was completely manipulative of everything she did. And they were fantastic to put in the same scene together, because they didn't care what the other people thought of them, and they both only cared about their goal. Yeah. And so you give them competing goals in the scene, that's going to be a good scene, right? Yeah. So that's what I'm looking for, is those characters, those points of view, but mostly it's style. And style is subjective, if I'm using subjective correctly. We all think differently about it. Yeah. And the style I'm looking for is that dialogue-driven stuff, twists of phrase, turns of phrase. It's not necessarily forcing that, don't you think you're reacting a little overly Buffy style of stuff? Yeah. But it's now I'm doing it again. It's now people are giving me scripts where people do that all the time. Right. It's a script that makes my eye move down the page fast. Not only because it's structured well and it's formatted well, like literally formatted well, right. Like there's a lot of white space on the page. You don't have to go, only one line of action. I'm just saying that it makes your eye look down the page. I remember, is it Shane Black who wrote like Lethal Weapon and those scripts? Yep. He had a script floating around Buffy when I was there, and he wrote something like, Mary Beth turns and sees, new line. Are you ready? Here it comes, new line. A big knife running, flying towards her head. I'm not saying everybody should do that, but it made my eye go down the page. Yeah. And I want dialogue that does that too, which means you have characters asking questions, because a question always makes me want to read the answer. Yeah. I'm not saying write an entire scene of just questions, but if you write a question in a line of dialogue, you're going to get me to come to the next line. Yeah. If you write a joke, it should be on the bottom of page 1 rather than top of page 2. Sometimes it just becomes calculus when you're writing a script, right? So I'm reading a script with that in mind. Is my eye moving down the page? Do I want to click on the next page? Yeah. And that's the difference. So it's that style that I like, fast read, and different points of view among the characters.
I think that's very practical, and that's actually
It's you got to get to that point where you sort of see. This is why television being an assistant is so wonderful, because you get to see the rewrites of each scene, right? And if you can, I don't know how to do it as a writer outside the system, but if you can find early drafts of scripts and compare them to the next draft. I did some work with Antoine Fisher, who wrote the movie Antoine Fisher, and he was a security guard, and he claims to have written 47 drafts of that script before I sold. I really want to see the difference between 46 and 47. Yeah. Like, what was it? And what was the difference between 9 and 18? Right. And certainly on a sitcom or an hour-long show, even as an assistant, you're seeing 5 different drafts and getting to go, oh, that is a better joke. That is a tighter story now. So if you can get your hands on first drafts and watch how they improve, that's the thing. And again, something that's in my top 10% might not be in your top 10%. Sure. I get sent a lot of scripts by established writers, and I don't get past page 10. It just doesn't. It just doesn't kind of work for me. But again, I don't like all singing voices either. So I think it comes down to that. Yeah.